Hey everybody, welcome back to Quest for Truth. Today we're going to be looking at a parable that Jesus told in Luke chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. I'm going to start reading in verse 2. It says, Jesus said, "In a certain city there was a judge who did not fear God and did not respect man. There was a widow in that city, and she kept coming to him, saying, 'Give me legal protection from my opponent.' For a while he was unwilling, but afterward he said to himself, 'Even though I do not fear God nor respect man, yet because this widow bothers me, I will give her legal protection. Otherwise, by continually coming, she will wear me out.' And the Lord said, 'Hear what the unrighteous judge said. Now will not God bring about justice for his elect, who cry to him day and night? And will he delay long over them? I tell you that he will bring about justice for them quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth?'" And there's a question of what this parable is actually about. Most Bibles put the heading of this to be something like the parable of the persistent widow. And we see that the widow is persistent. So let's just look at it. In verse 2, we see the judge who did not fear God. And then in verse 3, we see this widow that comes to him for legal protection. And the judge is unwilling to give it because he doesn't fear God nor respect man. Yet, in verse 5, he says, well, because this widow continues to bother me, she's going to wear me out if I don't give in. So then he gives in because he doesn't want to have to keep dealing with her, essentially. And then in verse 6, it says that the Lord, that God is different because he will bring about justice for his elect, not because that they bother him, but because he loves them. And he won't delay over them. But this parable isn't really about justice. I think a lot of people think that it is, and it's about that's kind of a common misconception, that it's about being persistent to get justice. But it's really, if you look at kind of the beginning and the end, we kind of see what this parable is about. Verse 1 and verse 8 at the end. Verse 1 says, "Now he was telling them a parable to show that at all times they ought to pray and not to lose heart." And so before Luke introduces this parable, he says it's about prayer and to not lose heart. So it's not just praying, but it's persistently praying so that we continue to have faith in God, and not to pray for something once or twice or 3 times or 4 times even, and then say, well, God doesn't hear me. But it's to say, no, we continue to pray and we don't lose heart, even if God doesn't answer us, especially the way that we want him to, that we don't lose faith in him. And to reiterate that point right at the end here of verse 8, it says, "However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth?" And he's saying how many will persistently remain in prayer, that they will still believe even after going through all of the suffering that this earth provides, and how many will continue in prayer and continue in faith even when they can't see God, and even when they can't see him working. And there's not always that you pray and then there's the answer right there, but sometimes you keep praying and sometimes the answer isn't until after death, And so he says, how many will he find who continue to have faith and who persist in prayer, but not just for the sake of prayer, but continue to pray in such a way that we still actually believe in God and believe what he told us, that the promises that he had given us are true, and that we pray in them and we pray according to his will, we will continue to have faith in him. And so I think that parable speaks so much more when you think about what it's about, and how we ought to pray. I think it's difficult to pray, and I think that it's an interesting thought that the way that we pray is actually it says how much faith that we have, and that just persistent prayer will actually increase our faith, and how we look at prayer will just help us to continue to have faith in him. Yeah, so that's all for today. I'll see you next time.